We have high-profile events with lots of clients entertaining their guests with very, very fine wines. We buy those wines through the trade, and we don't pay the restaurant markup. What we do is we pay the restaurant Corkage. What we do is tell you the story about where the wine comes from, why it is what it is, how it got to this age and continues to develop. I've invested more than £88 million on behalf of institutional clients and private investors.
Welcome to Jojo's Cross Borders. Christmas season, as you can see, is a season for holidays and wines and dinner and catch up, of course. So today we have a Peter Lunzer, the CEO of the Lung Wine Corporations. We're going to discover about the wine and events connections during the Christmas season. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Jojo. Very nice to be here.
Yeah. So, as we're curious, I'm going to ask you the first question is, what is the revenues for this month, Peter, for your wine?
December is always good, and it's around 200,000 of profit sterling. Yes.
Profit, 200,000.
We have high-profile events with lots of clients entertaining their guests with very, very fine wine. So it doesn't take long to get to that sort of number.
Oh wow! Okay, listen to that. And then you don't have a shop.
No, almost everybody comes to me because they've tried something and say, where can I buy this wine?
Yes. Yeah.
So I have online a little wine shop and people can find things there.
Yeah.
But most of the time, they're asking me direct, I need something, what is the best that I can get?
Wow! I like this kind of a business model. Let's dive in. Okay, so 200 grand, two profits. We talk about profits for a month, and then you don't having a shop like a on the streets, on the high streets. So as a traditional way. So yours is a very innovative way of running a wine business. So tell us about more about your family business, and then why, how you make this happen, 200,000 grand profits a month.
Yes, it's interesting. It began that I was supplying the hotel and restaurant world with fine wines, and that developed sort of by accident with a company coming to me and saying, we have a very successful time, we want to entertain our guests, and we want to have Domaine de la Romanée Conti and Chateau Yquem, and we begin with Krug, all of the top wines. And the question is, where should we do it? So we chose a restaurant in Covent Garden, which is not there now, but it was called Neal Street Restaurant, Antonio Caluccio. And it was a fantastic place. And two of the guests who came to this dinner said, that was great fun. Can you do one for us as well? So that's why it's high budget, high margin, because we're very often serving incredibly fine wines, which are expensive. But what we do, which is different to everybody else, is that we buy those wines through the trade, and we don't pay the restaurant markup. What we do is we pay the restaurant Corkage. So you
What does that mean?
Well, it means you can buy a wine, for example, it is £500 for one bottle. In the restaurant, if they have it, you would pay 2,000. But if you agree with the restaurant a policy where we pay 500 and give the restaurant, it could be, in Mosselmans, it's about £60. Even so, from 500 to 560 is much, much better than 500 to 2,000.
To 2,000, yeah.
So you can drink amazing wine without paying the restaurant market. Exactly. Oh. So that was the principle behind it. It's finding beautiful things, but also saying to an audience who you want to entertain. And if they are important people, they're invited to everything. So how do you get them to come to your dinner, or your celebration, instead of somebody else's? Well, you can use names like Chateau Lafite or Chateau Latour. You can use ideas of the Bienvenue Bâtard Montrachet from the Domaine Le Fleuve, and they look at their invitation and say, these people are being generous. I think I will go to that one.
So you're using the wine, the fine wine to attract them to come to the event.
So one side is using the fine wine. The other side is saying to them, we never use the word tasting. Tasting suggests that somebody's going to say to you, look, this is what it smells like, tastes like.
I think that's a tasting all the time. Well, it's boring for me.
It's very boring because not everybody understands all the silly words that they use. What we do is tell you the story about where the wine comes from, why it is what it is, how it got to this age and continues to develop. and use that as a sharing way of demonstrating that we're drinking wine, not tasting wine.
Oh, so basically you started to educate the people like about this wine. For example, you're going to telling this wine stories of where it's made,
Yes.
and the story first, and then you serve to the customer to taste it.
Yes, they
so
can
it's
try it, yes.
rather than vice versa. Like in the wine tasting events, I always going to St. James. It's like a boom, and then so you're tasting, and then you're describing what different tastes of it in your buds, like you know.
Do you know, everyone's taste buds are different and everyone's preference is different. So once we've got the most important people in the world, your most valued customers, to say yes to your invitation, the best thing is to make sure they go home knowing that you shared stories with them and they always had to make their own decision, not somebody else's. And my example is we give them 2 glasses at the same time. Only they can decide which one they prefer. And it's a really strong way of emphasizing there isn't a right or wrong in wine.
But you wasted 1 glass of a fine
No,
wine.
they can. It's the other glass. They probably find a way of drinking it as well, because both of them are delicious. But one has to be a favorite. But it's a very inclusive way. We call it sophisticated but unpretentious. And the most important thing is to share stories so people feel that they've learned something, but not because it's a lecture, but because it's a really gentle, involved, sort of sympathetic way of sharing stories about a subject most people would love to know more about. Yeah. But it's a big subject.
Like a what?
Just that even in Bordeaux, there are maybe 6,000 chateaux.
Yes.
But some of them are unaffordable and some of them are undrinkable. Yeah. What we need to do is find the ones in the middle who are the best. Value for money, but also finding them at the right time. And for me, it's one of the most interesting stories that, you know, the beginning of the wine boom, should we say, in China, let's say 2006 onwards, when wine was really flying into China. But not everybody was told that when a beautiful wine is very young, it can be very bitter, very acidic, very tannic, really gripping your mouth, which is maybe why there are stories about people adding things to their wine.
Adding Sprit, Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, whatever it might be. But it's understandable because that made it taste better than when it was too strong. If instead of that, the education had been, listen, if you wait for 20 years, then this wine will be soft and fantastic and delicious, and then you will really, really like it. But the problem is that somebody is buying a Hermes tie or Louis Vuitton handbag, they can use it straight away. Nobody has said in wine, you can't use it straight away, you have to wait. They didn't buy it to wait, they bought it to drink. And this was where I think education is so important. Sharing those stories about why it's not wrong to make something taste the way you want it. But if you spent a little bit more money, then you get the older vintage, and then it tastes exactly how it should be. So those sort of stories.
That's cool. So when did you get your first invitation? Like you tell us the story. I didn't want to interrupt you when you're saying that. But when was that? Like it's about 20 years ago?
Yeah, slightly more actually. That first one was in 1991. So a long time ago.
Show your age. I was only 10.
So I was allowed to drink even then.
Okay, good. So you were adults then.
I was an adult
All
then.
right.
And yes, it has grown ever since then in many different ways. But in this event space, it's there is a niche market who realize that if you need to get the senior partners or the global directors of businesses who are invited to everything, then you need to do something special. And it doesn't always mean it has to be a very high budget. You can do things, for example, the tasting Pouligny-Montrachet and Chassagne-Montrachet, 2 villages next to each other, but having 2 wines from each of them side by side to work out what the differences are. Most people, when they see that invitation, say, I'm going to go to that.
Of course, yeah. When you show the wine list, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you carry on this business, like never own a shop, never want to rent a place. I mean, displaying to your customer, just doing the events for this is your family business model, right?
Yes, it is. I like the idea. In fact, once I did have a wine shop.
Did you?
It was in Mayfair,
How was it?
in Curzon Street. It was a
sounds
beautiful
expensive.
place. It was lucky for me that I knew somebody who had a big budget to buy a building, and he said, I want to put the wine shop in the base in the ground floor of the building. So we were on Curzon Street next to Hayward Hill, the bookshop, and Trumpers, who are the hairdressers, and number 11 Curzon Street was a beautiful location. But it's very difficult to make money from owning a shop. The people I think who do tend to have many shops. This was a one-off, but it was a great location and a lot of fun.
Even that location, you couldn't. It's still difficult to make money because
Yes.
the traffic, like the customer profiles, they are hanging around Mayfair. So
Yeah, the
but you still
profile's
pay
good.
big
But
for the rent.
Yes, the rent is huge, but also it's not an easy place. I think today there is a big model where people will buy from places if they can pull up outside and park their car and fill up the car from the shop, or if you have a built-in distribution system.
Yeah.
All of which is possible, but it's expensive, and so a lot of people I think make the mistake of trying it and not always getting there.
Yes, yes. And then there's also popular. There's wine clubs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
St. James. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's all different wine clubs. They have lots of events and then members,
Yes.
and, different age.
And this is something that we want to do, and we've recently launched it by calling it the Lunzer Dining Club, which is all about the dinners we put together, which are lots of different subjects. One of the next ones coming up is a vertical tasting of Chateau Lynch-Barge, and we will have 4 vintages from 2016 back to 2000, just to explain what maturity means. When somebody says a wine is maturing, what does it mean? But if you have 4 glasses which are 16 years apart, then you can see yourself.
can tell.
That's what the maturity is. But the Lunzer Dining Club is bringing people together in a very relaxed storytelling environment,
Right.
where beautiful wines are served with great food.
Yeah.
And it's something that people use to bring a client or 2 clients, or their wife or husband.
Yeah.
It's very inclusive.
Oh, it's very like a friendly way, right? Yeah.
Oh, and there's no subscription either. It's free. You can join to the mailing list, but then you get information about the events.
Okay, that's cool. So that's different from like a join for be a member of a certain wine club. So basically you come into this setting which is expensive, goods places, but you have a different table, different wine tasting. But instead, so you're taking the clients to go to different venue that you'll be working with.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, we
for
do.
example today.
Yeah, for example, Mosselmann's here in Belgravia. We use L'Escargot, who are in Soho, which is
Soho,
very
yeah.
atmospheric. But always it's a private dining room. The place is chosen because they have good food, but also because they have a good policy towards corkage. And it's a really interesting policy, except that, so take this as an example,
Yeah.
the Chablis Premier Cru, here on the wine list, if you're buying it from the establishment, it's probably £170 for the bottle.
Right.
But we know we can buy this in the wine trade for about 40. So we prefer to buy it in the wine trade and then pay the venue here some corkage. And because we're in the wine trade, we actively look for places which have a good policy about that. But it means that the client saves a lot of money instead of having to pay the restaurant prices.
But what's to do? But is this not good for the restaurant? Would they allow
The
you
restaurant,
to
fine, not everyone, but they do charge enough money to make it worthwhile that their staff are being paid and the service charges on top. So that the restaurant is fine. They still make money, but not in the same way as if they had to buy it, store it, and then serve it one day to a client.
do that? Right.
So it's
yeah.
a different principle for them. But it does
Okay.
work, both for them and for us.
Oh, okay, right. So then, so this is business model. I can see you save a lot of money, like for paying the rent and then renovate it, like how to say that's good renovations and then
Sure.
chairs and table shelf and stuff. Then instead of that, so you're taking the clients to go different venues, which is to work together with you
Yes.
for a long time with the good fine wines.
Yeah, but also, for the client, it's important. There are different types of guests that they will be entertaining.
Yeah.
Some are younger and they want somewhere more modern, more vibrant. Some are more old-fashioned and they want something sophisticated and classic.
full body, yeah.
And so we change both the wines and the venue and the menu.
So
to suit the
basically,
client.
you tailor-made, completely tailor-made
Everything is
for
bespoke,
everything.
yes.
Bespoke. So for
Yeah.
you understand that's what the clients and then what the guests they bring, and then you just
Yes.
pull off the wine and
Yeah.
then from your knowledge.
Absolutely. And one of my favourites, for example, just to share with you, is called What a Difference a Year Makes. Because in Bordeaux especially, sometimes the summer is very rainy and it's not so warm and it's not great for growing grapes.
not
And
good
some
years,
years it's really, really fantastic. So a perfect example would be if we put 2010 vintage next to 2011. In 2010, bright sunshine, fantastic wines. 2011 is raining.
Oh yeah.
But if you have the same wine from the same chateau from 10 and 11 next to each other, you can taste the difference. And that, I find, is one of the most extraordinary things for people who can buy anything. They're successful people, they could buy it. But to have it explained to them exactly why ripe fruit makes this wine and the not so ripe fruit makes the other wine, then it's sharing, it's inclusive, and people love it.
And be open, and then it's also knowledgeable for them as well, right?
And they can share with their friends and their family. It makes them seem knowledgeable. Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's a really good, smart way. Yeah. So can I ask you a question about your client database? Because the way that you're describing running the wine business is completely depending on how big your database. How did you find your clients and who you serve for them?
Do you know, almost everything is word of mouth because, as I said, all the way back in 1991, when one client, it was PricewaterhouseCoopers, when they were entertaining Citigroup and Allen and Overy, it was people from those two guest companies who said to me, that was great, can we do something like that as well? So that was sort of mainly the process, word of mouth. And over the years, it's grown, obviously, and it's changed in profile. The banks used to do a huge amount of entertaining. Now it's not so easy because of the bribery laws in the UK.
Yeah.
But the insurance industry, the tech business is the new one, obviously.
Yes.
And the one that's really never changed are the law firms. They have
The lawyers.
The
lawyers all drink.
They all drink, and they all love sophisticated ways of sharing what they are trying to offer with their clients. So, yeah, we move with the times, and at the moment, as I say, the tech industry is the one that's most interesting for us because they are all looking, whether it's cybersecurity or fintech, they're all looking.
Or AI now.
Or AI, absolutely. They're all looking at ways, which are slightly different ways to bring people together, but in something that's memorable. So the client says, it was them who entertained me, and I will obviously give them any business I can.
Oh wow, okay. So it's a word of mouth, but luckily you start from the corporate requirements,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then so you stick with the corporates only, or you
Almost.
do both?
Do you know, I do both. There are people, I've got one now which is going to be, it's a 50th birthday party, and they want to do it at their home, and they have a beautiful wine cellar, so we'll use some of their wines, we'll bring in some other wines, and they will entertain guests. So we bring in a chef, and it's a very nice occasion. But the best thing about that is there's no restaurant markup, there's no corkage, there's no service charge, you're at home, nobody's going to kick you out, you can stay as long as you want, and it can be a really special occasion, again using beautiful wines, but with a good
So you
chef.
do like an individual, high profile individual as well, but
Yes.
majority is a corporates, right?
Yes, the majority still so far is corporate, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, but if I'm a corporate client and then I'm planning something interesting, something like we never have it, or I want to please my CEOs or my partners from other side of the world. So what can you do for them? Like if I call ringing Peter?
Yes, I mean, it really begins with a conversation where we work out roughly how many people and which the geography. Is it London? Is it outside London? Is it in a vineyard in Champagne or somewhere?
Or America.
Or even America.
Yeah.
So we begin with that conversation and then just come up with ideas of things that are examples we've done before.
Yeah.
And also talk about the budget. For some people, it's important to look very impressive and to use the most prestigious locations. For others, they want to find something which is very sophisticated, but to do so without having to spend all of the money. And I mean, small examples are this red wine comes from Chateau Angelus. Angelus itself is very expensive. This is the second wine of the same thing. You've got the same winemaker, but making something which is, shall we say, more affordable. We can tell as big a story about the second wine as we can about the main wine. So it's about fitting what we offer into the budget that the client wants to spend and coming up with ideas. So
right, okay, so too abstract for me to understand now, because give me a number. So expensive one, corporates, like how much they're going to pay the bill, like if go for the high profile where for CEOs or the board members, how much they're going to pay you for night?
Well, usually, let's say if it's
dinner, wine,
yes, dinner,
stories and laugh.
Everything and laugh in a really proper location. It's anything between £800 per person up to around 2,000 per person, up to maybe 2,500 per person.
Per person?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So those are the high profile ones.
Yeah.
But the majority of what we do is probably between 250 and 500. That's
per person,
yeah.
including the drinks and wine and then education, knowledge.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would go for that, but not 2,500 per person.
It depends how big the business is and how much you need to impress somebody.
Right, yeah. Oh, okay, so if I really want to impress, and then, so, yeah.
But you see, the problem in this world is that when you have, I mentioned the domain, which is the domain de la Romani Conti. So Romani Conti itself, today it's between sort of 14 and 18,000 pounds for one bottle. So if you want to serve that at dinner and there are, let's say, 12 of you and you need 3 bottles, well, that's 40,000 just on those 3 bottles before we open a bottle of white wine. Or
That's true, yeah.
So it's very easy to spend money. We don't have to do that. We could go all the way down. We could divide that by 3 by having domaine de la Romani Conti, but they're Richebourg or they're Grand Echezeaux. So we can find, and then we can go all the way down from that. Instead of domaine de la Romani Conti, we go to Armand Rousseau or we go to Dujac or one of the big names, but with an impressive story, a beautiful wine, but without the same price tag. So everything is possible.
Okay, so one stop then, right? Yeah. How do you select wine?
I often ask if the host has any preferences, but otherwise I tend to suggest wine selection based on the theme that we might be trying. So if it's what a difference a year makes, then we would choose a chateau which is at the right price for that occasion, where it's a really clear illustration of what I'm trying to share as a story. But equally, there are people we've spoken almost only about France so far. There are people who love the Italian wines, the Super Tuscans. I work with San Lorenzo Yachts, who are bespoke yacht builders. Every wine has to be Italian, and we did a Super Tuscan wine tasting for them. But there might be people who like Spain or Portugal, the Ribera del Duero on the Spanish side, some fantastic wines up there. And similarly, I have hosted events in Germany with German wines. So for me, the host is the person who begins that story. What is it you would like to share? And then I come up with the ideas that work within that.
So basically you're holding events like all around Europe?
Yes, all over Europe, and we also worked quite a lot in Hong Kong. I must admit that was more up until the COVID period. And we've been doing much. I haven't been hosting in Hong Kong since then, but we did Hong Kong and Singapore and a few events in Shanghai, mainly for property developers.
There's lots of wine events like investors as well in China. Yeah.
Well, we work in the investment world, which is quite interesting, and that world
Why?
is
Why interesting?
Because it changes all the time. Wine prices tend to rise, they tend to go up, but really since 2003 they've been going down a bit.
Yeah.
And being honest about that is incredibly important. Don't say to clients, you have to invest in wine because you will make lots of money. Tell them when the market changes and then say, if you jump on now, I think this is the time you'll see it go back up again. So we act as independent advisors. I've invested more than £88 million on behalf of institutional clients and private investors.
Oh, you're doing investment as well?
Yeah, since 2003. Wow. So it's been a major project for me. And it goes in cycles. And just at the moment we're starting again, we're working with a really young tech-driven business who use AI, but amazing data analysis to make decisions about investment propositions, both the correct price to pay, but for the correct wine and at the right time. In the past, it's always been my gut feeling, which has worked, but it's probably not as scientific as the modern approach, which we're working with now. So you think that like the data, like the scientific data will replace your knowledge one day? I think you need both. You absolutely need both. But it means that my analysis of what is available and what we should be paying can be done in 10 seconds instead of 3 weeks of hard work. The machine will tell me very quickly. Just like an enter. Exactly. And then you're testing that afterwards, right? Yeah, absolutely. Wow, so the AI does changing, like accelerate your investment point of view, right? Oh, definitely. Yes. No, we have to grow with the times as well. Right. But also that's data processing. The company I'm working with, they are called Wineify, and they are introducing wine investment to a much broader base of potential investors, because they offer syndicates as well as buying outright portfolios. So for people who are not so wealthy but want to start somewhere, just to get something which is an entry level, membership of the syndicate, buying the very best wines, but only owning a little bit of it. It's like owning the leg of a racehorse.
Yes,
or supercars.
And then you can still watch it, right?
Still watch it, absolutely.
So what I did is in China, I buy a set and then keep it for auction, and then buy two, and then the other enjoy the rest of it and using the profits.
Perfect.
Just for fun, right? Right. So I have a question to ask you about Chinese wine. Chinese people for this business. I mean, what is your view for Chinese people tasting wines? Or investors?
I have hosted a lot of occasions.
Be honest, okay?
Yeah, no,
Good
but I've
and
hosted
bad.
many occasions in China. So first thing I would say, they will never answer a question of which wine they prefer because they don't want to lose face. It's important not to get it wrong. I understand that, so we never ask that question. But I explain why the wines are different, and then they can choose quietly in their own way what they prefer. But they are becoming more aware of the big brand names. Obviously, Chateau Lafite has gone a long way. But more interesting for me is the wine grown in China with a collaboration between the Rothschild family, the Great Wall of China Wine Company. They are making some proper wines which are growing in popularity and in quality. So I think that there's a lot of scope to work both with investment in China, of sometimes Chinese wines, maybe, but more importantly with the people who very often have the budget and the inclination to learn more about the subject. But they want to hear it from somebody who they can trust, and that is the most important part of this
true.
thing.
Yeah, we're all like in a group.
Yes.
Yeah, we all trust the inner group.
And you don't want the salesman, and you don't want the big brand who are charging you too much. You want somebody who can show you.
You trust and then tell the real story and the value and the investment, insight as well.
Yes, exactly.
So what do you think, how do you feel when you see the way that Chinese people drinking wines? They're drinking a bottle of wines, like a few bottles, and then so they do the bottom up one. How did you feel like that when you watch it?
Well, listen, the short answer is that I played a lot of rugby, and rugby in England is a culture of drinking in exactly the same way, so I have no problem at all. I do understand, though, that, and I use this expression often in tastings, that route one, which is the front of the mouth to the back of the mouth without stopping, is a great way to drink wine. It is not a great way to taste wine. So to taste wine, you have to stop halfway and leave the wine there. And that's when the flavors of the wine start to make sense. So I have no problem with anybody's habits of how they drink, but tasting wine and appreciating it, sometimes you need to be a bit slower.
That's a good way. Yeah. So now it's so drinking wine is from the tongue, from the front to the bottom, drinking, right?
Yes, yeah.
And tasting is you pause in the middle, and then you let all the aroma.
Everything happen. And we use the expression to make the throat feel jealous, because he wants to
he wants to
get the wine.
Yeah.
You wait. Feel jealous because I'm having fun in the middle.
All right. So that's a good way to describing drinking proper way.
Yes,
right?
yes. It's a good
So
way of
now
doing
we
it.
all talk about your business, but all I heard is you. It's you running this and the wine tasting and then organizes it. Tell me about your team, your family team.
Sure.
You know.
Well, I must admit my wife has been very, very instrumental, because she is so she's in charge of the marketing and the sales sort of pattern, and her background was marketing with global businesses, with Hewlett Packard and Sony Ericsson, and big brand names. But she brings a very regimented approach to that side of the business, which I probably don't have, I can admit. And then on another side, we have somebody who's in charge of operations, and that is just, again, it's something which is 100% necessary, but I prefer to be able to delegate that, because there are other people who are better at it than I am. But then outside that, almost everything else is freelance. So we have warehousing, we have which are commercial warehouses where everything is stored and insured. We have obviously the
You don't want to tell
transport.
us where, right?
Well, the bonded warehouses, there are only a few in England that are really considered the right ones, and we use all of them in a sense. We actually use a company called Nexus who have franchises in every warehouse, and they store on behalf of the clients. So this is a very important part of investing. If you invest, you have to have control of your asset.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be in my company, it should be in your name.
Yeah.
So everything we buy goes into the name of the buyer.
Yeah.
In the warehouse, which is controlled by Nexus, who are completely third party.
The third parties
Yeah.
and the investor's name. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
so the investor
right.
is the signatory to the stock. So yes, the team is very small, but there's a lot of freelance that we use on the outside who help us with everything we need to do. And the program at the moment, in terms of presenting wines,
Yes.
that is expanding. But again, it's freelance people we meet, who we believe will tell the same sort of stories that I do. We don't want the top sommeliers who will confuse you with too much science or too many long adjectives.
I've seen lots of people talking of wine. It's too much for an outsider.
Yeah, so we describe it as the Lunzer way, and the Lunzer way is very inclusive. It's about sharing stories, and so we are even now actively looking, we always do, but actively looking for people who we can bring on as freelance. So I can only be in one place in an evening. So to have somebody else who can do another event on the same evening is obviously very useful.
So you have a method along this way,
Yes,
methods to
yes.
explain
Yeah.
what to say and what not to say.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So what to say about your profit then?
Yeah, profit, I mean, obviously it fluctuates and it's very
Is that
seasonal.
not to say?
Yeah, there's not to say, but it is seasonal. We accept that, and we realise that July and August of the years, each year is not so profitable. Everyone is on a holiday. Even January, some people don't drink alcohol.
Dry month.
Dry January, terrible idea. But some people do this. So it's very seasonal, and we work with what we're given.
So this is not to say, then let me guess, 50% for this month margin?
Yeah, margin, yes, it is.
Higher
Yes,
than that?
No,
Wow.
no, not higher. No, it's about right.
Yeah, I mean, because you having a bespoke service like for corporate clients, and then you have a small team. You don't have a shop. You only pay the third parties to storage. So the profit's
So
going to
it
be
makes it-
over
exactly.
50%. Smart guy,
be, yeah.
Peter.
Well,
Thank you
try.
so much for today, for sharing all your secrets for making 200,000 a month. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you.